but we do have a topic, Ed, which I thought was pretty good. And I know we read Josh Martinez's banter, Boss Rush Banter from last week, but this one is very interesting that I thought we should probably talk about too. So this is Boss Rush Banter from bossrush.net, our website, from Josh Martinez, who's been on the show before. He wrote a banter called Monster Hunter Stories 2 has made me reconsider the franchise. And so I thought an interesting topic would be if there was ever a game that made you reconsider any sort of franchise or genre of game. Because
heck yeah.
I mean, obviously I think the big one right now would be Elden Ring is making people reconsider going back to old Dark Souls games or other games like that. Or, I think Breath of the Wild really opened people's eyes up to Zelda, right? I mean, it's the best selling Zelda game ever. And maybe they're going back on NSO or older systems to go play that, right? So,
yeah.
I can probably think of a couple examples of games, right? So,
for me, it's Mass Effect 2. I did, and let me tell you why I say Mass Effect 2, everybody. I did not like BioWare at all. I played Star Wars, something of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic. And I played that on the Xbox. And to me, it's a terrible mess of a game.
Oh, it's amazing. You don't play it for the gameplay, though. You play it for the story.
I tried to even get into the story, and the thing was confusing as ever. So I just did not give that game a fair try. I think it was too complicated as a game for me. But when I talked to my friend when I was at Toys R Us, and he's still my friend, we still talk when we can. He told me just like play the Mass Effect games, and I went with 2 first, and then I went back to. I'm just like, okay, it's good and stuff, but then he was just like, no, really give these games a try. So I bought the Mass Effect trilogy that was on PS3 at that time. And I started from the first game. Didn't like the gameplay, but thought the characters was intriguing and talked to my friends. I got to Mass Effect 2, and every day I was going into work, I was talking to my friend, be like, this is the drama, this is the character, this happened. And I could not stop talking about that game. We literally would step aside while still at work getting paid, not doing nothing, talk for 45 minutes about that game. And literally, I was just like, okay, now I'll see why people like BioWare's games. So, like, I got Jade Empire. Like I said, still don't like the Knights of the Old Republic, but it is what it is.
It's so funny that you like Jade Empire, not Knights of the Old Republic. It's literally the same game.
I think it's because of the martial arts of that game, and Jade Empire was easier to play for me. I got Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 on PS3. Like I said, I'm playing Dragon Age Inquisition. I played Mass Effect Andromeda, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I didn't have a problem with that. But like it was Mass Effect 2 that really made me become a big BioWare fan. That I just started enjoying their previous games in some of their current games. That's why when I seen Dragon Age Velgar, I'm like super excited for that game. I'm like, oh, this is so much up my alley. The combat looks fast and fun. Like there's just something more appealing, and it's all because of Mass Effect 2 for me. That happened. I did not like Destiny, but Destiny 2 made me a big I won't say a big fan, but it really made me a fan of Bungie, because when I played Halo for Xbox, did not like it. Got to the end, the cars, like I say, and even though I feels like I'm trashing it, the cars felt like rocks was in a garbage can and I was pushing and driving it. Like it was just so bad. But Destiny 2, I'm not gonna deny. Destiny 2, the first version of it really felt good. Just definitely on Xbox, it really felt great. Playing the final shape and playing it with me 60 frames per second, I was just like, oh, this is everything. This is what I like, about Bungie now. Like they got it right. When they're in their bag, they're really in their bag.
Hmm.
For it. So, uh, yeah, definitely those two games. Like it took me a while. Fire Emblem not so much, but I understand Fire Emblem Awakening helped people get into the franchise. Same as Monster Hunter 4 on 3DS. That helped people get into the system because Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on Wii U was kind of the bridging gap of it, and regardless if you liked it or not, for some unknown reason, that game helped make Monster Hunter 4 popular. Once Monster Hunter 4 was popular on 3DS, the series became a mainline game. Like, and you cannot deny, uh, just the sale numbers on it. Like 3DS was change. This was the thing with Nintendo around that time. They were really changing a lot of game companies' perspective, and once again making them money because people started going playing those games, and they they were the hot commodity. They became the mainline games, and it just happened a little bit for some people overnight. Like a lot of people can't really explain it, but then when you go and you play those games, you start understanding why. That's why Fire Emblem Awakening led to all of those 3DS games. And then you go to Three Houses, and Three Houses is now like the game that people recommend when it comes to any Fire Emblem game. Like Three Houses exploded in that kind of genre. Hades did it for like a lot of the roguelike kind of games for some people. Like they started getting more into that genre of games because of Hades.
Hmm.
And a little and Dead Cells also did
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, there's been quite a bit of there's been quite a few games that I've reconsidered. Uh, kind of returning to the series. I think Halo 3 was actually one of them because I had
Mhm.
never like I played Halo 1. I liked it. I didn't love it. I actually didn't play Halo 2 until after Halo 3 came out. Um I mean
Wow.
that's not entirely true. I played Halo 2 multiplayer before, but I had never played the campaign until after Halo 3 came out. And I was like, well, I should probably play the campaign of Halo 2 before I play Halo 3's campaign. And it was okay, but I really loved Halo 3's multiplayer and campaign so much that I went back and played 1 and 2 again and like fell in love with Halo that way.
Mhm.
Um, and really gave me a big appreciation for what Xbox was doing in that space, because like I mean, obviously, like Halo was obviously a huge deal, right? And obviously, it changed the way we thought about shooters on console. Um, but it took me a while to like realize like what it was doing, right? And
Yeah.
um because at the time, like the only shooters I had really played on console were GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Because I wasn't really into shooters. I was into RPGs and action games and Mario and Zelda and stuff at the time, right? So like I wasn't
Right.
really, I mean, I was playing like SSX and Extreme G and stuff like that. So Matt, I mean, and at the time too, that generation, I was really big into Madden and sports games too. So I wasn't exactly like exploring gaming at that time for a lot of different reasons, but that whole era and Final Fantasy 10 got me into JRPGs and going back to 9 and 8 and then venturing forward into different types of RPGs like Kingdom Hearts action RPG or
Mhm.
Knights of the Republic and Fable on Xbox or um Jade Empire as well and Dragon Quest 8, was incredible.
That was a big one on PS2.
And then looking for more JRPGs and action RPGs, I ventured into Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2, and then I discovered,
Man,
Tales of
that
Symphonia and
series.
Skies of Arcadia and Rogue Galaxy and Xenosaga. And like after
Hmm.
Xenosaga came out, I ended up going back to Xenogears and like all these games, like it was more of like a discovery thing than actually like, you know, going back to explore the franchises, right? It was more of a I'm discovering these games for the first time because of other games. And
Right.
um I always kind of attribute the N64 of me falling in love with games, but I would probably attribute like, you know after I left, uh, when I was in college in Columbus, after I left Columbus and coming home and trying to like really figure out what the next step in my life was at that time, right? Like exploring video games and trying to figure out, you know, I was really finding out what types of games that I really liked. And, I
Hmm.
got really into Gears. For a long time, I was into Gears. So there was just a lot of games out that I found because of certain games, and I think that's the bigger thing is discoverability. And then obviously like, Uncharted came out and the new Tomb Raider games and DMC and
Hmm.
uh then like the door was blown wide open, and obviously we got Mass Effect, which was incredible, which led me to like Alpha Protocol and some of these other RPG-esque shooters. And uh Gears led me to a bunch of different third person shooters, like weird ones like Vanquish and Binary Domain and
Yeah.
all these crazy, like it was just the explosion of exploration. And then we were starting to get decent licensed games again, like Arkham and the Transformers games.
Yep.
And that kind of stuff. Man, Cybertron Transformers games are incredible, and I really hope those end up
I
coming to
I
Game Pass
think
at
you
some
was
point.
talking. I think you was talking to Todd Oxtra at Secret Friends about that.
Yeah, we were talking about it at some point. Yeah, uh,
Yeah.
because they were talking about the Marvel stuff coming, and I'm like, but man, what about Transformers?
Transformers. Yeah. I know. And not to cut you off, Corey. I know Medal of Honor Frontline on GameCube made people get into the Medal of Honor series, and it was literally something about that game. Definitely with the orchestrated music, the storytelling. Like a lot of people in that area into getting into like modern first person shooters and stuff. Because first person shooters were like really big more on PC than those consoles. I remember Medal of Honor Frontline just being a huge thing and getting people into playing these first person shooters from EA. Because I think Battlefield was out, but man, just Medal of Honor's Frontline, that was a milestone. That was a really big thing from and I think that's why they got into more of the 007 games, like with EA and the license stuff, because of Medal of Honor Frontline.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, then, like, yeah, like double O 007 was like that made me kind of explore other shooters, right? And so
mhm.
like I kind of found my way to things like Doom that way, or remember Return to Castle Wolfenstein on the original Xbox, or
Yeah.
some of these other games that I had never experienced shooters before. Like I was just not a shooter person, because a lot of shooters up until that point were regulated to like PC, right? And
Mhm.
and um, I mean, yes, we got shooters on N64, which is where I was primarily at the time, right, with Turok and uh, GoldenEye and these other things. But like, you know, it just
Dick a ton.
it's so crazy thinking about all that stuff now, because like who would have thought like my favorite game of all time was a first person shooter? If you would have told me that when I was playing GoldenEye in 64, when I was like 10 or 11 or 12
Mhm.
or however old I was when that game came out, I would have said you were nuts, right? But here we are. Destiny is like, if I was to rank like my top 5 favorite franchises, Destiny would probably be in the top 2 or 3 at this point.
Yeah, I think that's why when you think of like 2D fighting games, and of course everybody gonna say Capcom, that's why Marvel vs. Capcom 2, when you see the Nintendo Direct reactions, it's because 2D fighters, everybody feel like peaked at that at Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So that made them get into those 2D fighters. You know, even though that Tekken and Virtua Fighter was out, like and Sim and Soul Calibur slash Slow Edge, those games were out.
Mhm,
When it came to sprite based 2D fighting, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was the thing. Now, Tatsunoko Capcom is a different story. And the reason I mentioned that, everybody, is because even though it's part of the Versus series, that control layout changed a lot of Capcom's 2D fighters. I mean, Street Fighter is still like a 6-button fighting game, but like for a lot of the Versus game, they went to that 4-button panel
mhm,
that Tatsunoko versus Capcom had and
mhm,
everything. So it's interesting to see that when you play a certain game and it's good, you go back in that developers or publishers or that game's history and go look out and play for those other titles. And I know we didn't mention a lot of Nintendo stuff. Um, it's because that Nintendo really had a big establishment in their first party games. So, if it was available for you to go and play, for which a lot of their games are now, you could understand why there is a love for that particular series. There are some games that you can't go back legally at this time, I would say that. But if you could find a way to play those, you would understand why those games still hold up to today, and why those games are still loved.
mhm.
I think that's why, and I would definitely give it to Xbox with Game Pass, um, because some of their 360 titles that they have on there, or some of their first party games from other developers like Bethesda, that's on there, that you could go back and check out the history of those games and play them, and
Mhm.
and definitely enjoy it for what they offer and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I think you and I both use Game Pass for I mean, we use it for discoverability, but I think the games that we
Mhm.
like, we just go and purchase on Switch, which is
Yeah.
probably not what Xbox wants, but, you know,
And
I don't
and I
really
would
think Xbox really knows what they want at this point either,
and
so.
and and I'm not gonna lie, I will double dip on Xbox too and play that version of the game, even regardless if it's better um in a lot of sense because of the power of the console. I still enjoy the experience that is presented on.
Mhm,
And like, shoot, I did a lot of the Yakuza series on Xbox. I just this like past year, like at the beginning of the year, I did the Judgment games on Xbox. Even though I owned
mhm,
them on PS4, I got the whole Yakuza series, the new modern remake Yakuza series, everybody, because 1 and 2 was on PlayStation 2, and I beat 1, but I never got to beat 2 on PlayStation 2. So, but I got that whole series, and I just need to go revisit them. But like when I played Yakuza 1 on PS2, I was hooked on that game and everything. It was bunkers. Um, it had what I like that RPG, but it also had like brawling, like the Final Fight stuff that I enjoy. I was hooked by playing the first game, so it made me continue to go with the series, and I need to go finish up that some of the games in the series. But I thoroughly enjoyed it because of the Yakuza game on
mhm.
PS2.
Yeah.
It-
It's, games are, games are fun, and the more that you can discover from this type of stuff, like,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess kind of wrapping this back to like Monster Hunter in general, like, I mean, that's what the article's about. It's not necessarily about that, but you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Deering, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.